today is Nicola Simonetti, and the talk is on the philosophy of mind and neuroscience, and it's going to be on the case of mirror neurons toward a reductive theory of the mirror system.
Okay, first of all, excuse me for my bad spelling because I'm not used to speak English. First, a brief summary of my talk. My talk is divided into two parts. The first part I take into consideration mirror neuron discovery by the Parma team of Rizzolatti, Jacobone, Gallese, etc. in the 90s, and its fundamental interpretations and outcomes. While in the second part, I take into consideration the fear of mind of Ji-Won Kim that I find coherent with this discovery. One of the richest and most exciting books in reporting experiments and implications arising from neurons discovery is Mirrors in the Brain, How Our Minds Share Actions and Emotion, 2008, from the original one in Italian by Rizzolatti and Sinigallia. The central argument around which the 7 chapters of the book are articulated is that the brain that acts is also and above all a brain that understands. The meaning and scope of this statement lie in the heart of the neural mechanism identified by the neurophysiologists at the University of Parma, headed by Rizzolatti. These researchers discovered in the premotor cortex of monkeys and humans the existence of 2 groups of neurons which are both active during the implementation of actions related to objects. They are simple, familiar gestures like grabbing something with your hand, bringing food to your mouth. The surprising thing is that these 2 groups of premotor neurons are also activated in the absence of any enforcement action during purely observation explicit tasks. The first group of neurons responds to a vision of the object to which the action could be directed, while those of the second group respond to the observation of another individual who performs the same action. From the authors, we may take the example of the coffee cup. The premotor neurons are activated while you grasp the handle, but for some of them activation is triggered even by the simple observation of the cup resting on the table. For others, also by the observation of our neighbor who grasps the cup to drink his coffee. Therefore, we have in both cases bimotor neurons that activate both for motor and perceptual processes. The neurons of the first group were called canonical neurons because since the 30s it has suggested the involvement of the premotor areas in the processing of visual information about an object and the motor complex than previously thought. But the brain that acts is primarily a brain that understands. This is a pragmatic, preconceptual and prelinguistic understanding, but yet not less important, since it rests on the many of our much celebrated cognitive abilities. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, we have time for questions. Any time for questions and discussion? Yes.
Okay.
Richard?
Okay, so here's an argument against Rizzolati's view, and I've never known what to make of this, so I wonder if you could offer some insight. So he thinks that when the monkey sees the nut break and the mirror neurons fire, those mirror neurons are encoding the concept of breaking a nut, and that thinking about breaking a nut is supervenient on those processes. But here's another possibility. Somewhere downstream from that, the monkey tokens a concept, breaking the nut. And there are just associations that have been forged between thinking about breaking nuts and actually breaking nuts yourself. So it sends a there's an association between that concept and your motor system. So what happens is that you start to break a nut and then it's clamped down.
Yes.
Because I think this makes sense. Like when you think of thinking about turtles makes us walk slower. It's really kind of strange to think that. What's happening when we see a turtle is that we simulate the turtle so we go slower, and that is constitutive of having the concept of a turtle. So something like that might be going on in the mirror system.
I think that about the macaque monkey, the idea of association is the problem that you are in front of an animal that perhaps is not able to have a so sophisticated mechanism to understand in an immediate way an action, something that it is happening around him. So I think that the idea of an activation on a neurophysiological level could be more plausible. Instead, the idea of association, I think that entails a high idea of psychology, and I respect the monkey, but perhaps association is too much higher function for a monkey.
Yeah, I was thinking of something just more brutally causal, like, because the token, the concept gets chosen so often in association with this other one, it tends to like also mirror neurons also with that at the same time. So I don't know if it's a high level concept.
It could be an interpretation, but I think that this experiment that shows that a same neuron fires when the animal breaks the nut, when it sees somewhere breaks the nut, and when it hears the sound, perhaps is the demonstration that there's before a physiological process, a basic process, before association. We could interpret association as something that comes after this event, or perhaps association is only a way of interpreting his behavior. So something like mind reading, I don't know, something like that. I think that we are not obliged to interpret it as an association in the first time. You may start from a neurophysiological event, and then you can interpret it also as an association, but you are not obliged to interpret it in a psychological way. In the sense that psychological, in the sense of a higher level science, but only as a deeper level, as something automatic at the basic level, sort of something like empathy, something automatic that is not conscious or not completely conscious. This is interpretation, of course, because we have only empirical data, but we must give an interpretation. Monkeys, and this is a very other problem. Yes, because of course we can't be in the head of the monkey, and we can't see his thought. So it's just an interpretation.
Other questions?
We're
Ready?
being told that
Oh, we have to go.
food is
I see.
cold and we gotta go, so we continue
well-
Nicola's conversation down the hall. We can continue
That
this
sounds
discussion.
great. So there's dinner where we have lunch, and let's thank our speakers.
Well, there you go, have it. I didn't even hear